Hello, it's me. I am the lady. Join me for the couch and the culture. Hey, clients, welcome back or welcome to the couch and the culture where therapy meets what's trending. I am your host, your creator, Lakia, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. And join me on the couch as we talk all things pop culture and really learn about things that you would typically discuss in therapy with the assistance of some real life things from social media, from reality TV, and some of our favorite scripted programs from the culture. Before we get into things today, I wanted to, of course, go over our disclaimers. We are 3 episodes deep, and again, we are trying to avoid the lawsuits. So, any misunderstandings, let me hopefully clear them up for you now with our disclaimers. Number 1, this is meant to be educational only, and it is not a substitute for your own personalized individual therapy treatment. So as much as I hope that you learn from this, that you're inspired from this, please do not use this kind of as your substitute or replacement for therapy. So yeah, do with that what you will. Number 2, when we are discussing things and I'm sharing my views and my takes on things, they are solely my views. I am not speaking on behalf of any past or present employees or employers, pardon me. I'm not speaking on behalf of any organizations I may be affiliated with, any universities in particular. I am just speaking for me. These are not meant to be the views of anyone else, just me. Number 3, if I am speaking about things in a very casual way, that is really the intent of this, for us just to have a chill conversation. I am not going to talk in a way as if I were writing a formal paper. That's not what this is. I don't want to have to code switch on this channel. So if you are questioning like, oh my God, I wouldn't go see her, she's not educated. I am. But we don't have to talk about things in a way as if I'm interviewing for a job, okay? We're just gonna be person to person, keep it cute, keep it casual. Again, it's for the culture, so yeah, do with that what you will. Number 4, I am gonna be talking about people who I do not know personally. So if you want to call them a celebrity, public figure, however you want to think about it, I do not know these people in real life. I am not going to talk as if I do. I am just using some of the things that they share with us that may be edited, that may not be the full story. I'm only using those things as a point of reference to help kind of make some of the points we're going to be talking about. And so I'm going to try and do that in a way that does not come across as judgmental or as if they are my personal clients, because they're not. So I ask that you guys keep that in mind as you're watching the episodes today and moving forward, because hopefully you'll continue to come back for each episode of The Couch and the Culture. That's going to take care of our disclaimers for today. So we are going to segue and talk a little bit about some feedback from the first 2 shows. So hopefully if you are joining me on today's episode, you've also caught the first 2 episodes where we talked about kind of unaliving in the first episode, and then week 2 we talked a little bit about reasons Black people don't go to therapy. Highly encourage you to go back and watch them if you haven't seen them yet. It's available on my YouTube channel as well as now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you like to multitask like me and while you're driving or getting dressed or whatever, listening to podcasts, I hope that you will choose to do so, or like, comment, subscribe on YouTube if you want to see the videos. I really want this to reach as many people as possible, because my goal in all of this is to help us get comfortable talking about mental health, destigmatizing it, and just encouraging people to take care of themselves and get whatever support they may need. This episode today is going to look a little bit different from the first 2. First one was really kind of formal, if you will. The last one, I really enjoyed talking with you guys about, you know, Angel Reese and Wale, and again, some of the reasons Black people don't go to therapy. But this week's episode is going to be a little bit different. I want to start introducing some new segments for you guys that will likely be a part of all of the episodes to come. So why don't we start with the first intro for today. So each week I am going to bring us a topic called Who Said That? This segment is really designed to tackle some of the myths that we may hear about therapists or the therapy process, kind of what to expect. Again, I really want to educate you guys, but in a way that you can understand. So each week we'll kind of decide who said that, where did that come from. So one of the first things that I kind of want to burst that bubble, so to speak, is I often hear therapists ain't supposed to cuss.
Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
Because let me be very frank with you guys. Now, the last couple of years, I've worked almost exclusively with adolescents, so I try and be really mindful of what's coming out of my mouth. But in general, your therapist be cussing. And if you don't think so, I'm so sorry to rain on your parade. Now, I try to be respectful. I try not to be the person that pops it off in sessions, but I want my clients who are talking to me to talk to me in an unfiltered, in a raw way. I don't want them to feel like, oh, if I say this, is she gonna judge me? Or, oh, I'm not allowed to say that. She's gonna think I got a potty mouth or whatever. So I try not to be the one to pop it off. However, there is sometimes just the moment where you gotta use, for the expression of it all, you gotta put them words in there. So if you are somebody that you're offended by that, you don't use that language, you don't want to talk to people who use that language, remember in the last episode we talked about the vetting process and some of the questions you should or shouldn't ask your therapist when you're trying to find the right fit. This may be one of them questions you ask if that's significant. Do you curse in session? Because again, if that question is coming to me, baby, I am my mama's child. I am my grandmama's child. We gonna use the words from time to time. So yes, sometimes your therapist will curse. And again, it shouldn't be an episode of, you know, a stand-up Bernie Mac segment. But to get the point across, sometimes we just need to add those words in there. So if, again, you're gonna be bothered by that, consider that one of the questions you ask when you're vetting your therapist. The next thing I wanna kind of talk about, my therapist mentioned having a therapist. How can they help me? Aren't they supposed to have it all figured out?
Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
I think this is one of the biggest things I hear from people who've never gone to therapy. Is when they say like, oh, well, I've heard some therapists have their own therapist. How are they helping me if they're talking to somebody else? And let me just say this. In any field, I don't know that there's like this level that you hit where you don't still need to kind of have your own outlet, whether you're trying to gain better leadership skills, gain new insights, but also so that you have a designated place where you can just kind of release it all. So I really think it's a good practice for therapists to still have their own therapist. And I also think it almost elevates your delivery as a clinician when you know what it's like to be on the other end. When you know what it is to be the client, I think you do a better job of serving your clients when you've been one yourself. So I know for those who may be in like graduate school now, who may be thinking of becoming providers in the future, I don't know that this is something that's often talked about enough. I know when I was in school, I don't think we really talked about this idea a whole lot, but I am going to encourage anyone who's considering entering the profession, do not feel like you're less than or that there's shame related to that. I think it is an excellent idea to still have your own personal therapist. So yeah, I would say good idea for therapists to still have their own therapist. Number 3, my therapist didn't co-sign my behavior. Aren't they supposed to be on my side at all times?
Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
This one can be really difficult to understand because I think on one hand there's the belief that my therapist is only going to co-sign what I say. They're just going to tell me what I want to hear. That's what they're being paid for. But on the other hand, it can be difficult in moments where maybe my therapist challenged me and it felt like a personal attack. Like, oh, now wait a minute, I'm paying you now, what you doing? Again, there's this idea of unconditional positive regard that a lot of times you'll hear about in the field of psychology. And what that means is, as the clinician, I should accept my client for who they are, right? I'm meeting them where they are. I'm trying to reserve like negative judgment. I'm just accepting the person who shows up in front of me. That's not to say that I condone everything they may say or do. However, I'm accepting where they are and where what they're trying to achieve, their behaviors, their actions. I am really trying to support them without judgment so that it is a space safe enough to do that. That unconditional positive regard, again, does not mean that I am not going to challenge you. Again, we shouldn't go to therapy just to have yes men. This really should be an experience where we're growing. And a lot of times, a good way of being able to grow is having feedback. Just keep that in mind when you're thinking about who's going to be the right fit for me as a therapist. Number 4, my therapist didn't tell me anything about themselves. I thought this was supposed to be an open dialogue. They're supposed to be an open book. We should be able to go back and forth. I don't want to be the only one sharing in the session.
Who said that? Who said that? Who said that?
So this again can be really interesting trying to balance when we think about self-disclosure from a therapist perspective. If I am sharing personal things on my end, it should only be because it is going to help the client unlock something, understand something, and grow. I should not be sharing my whole life story because I missed my personal therapy session. I want someone that I can vent to and that I done took over the session and they trying to support me. Should not be that way. However, it should also not be that there is this barrier where I'm pouring out all of my deep dark secrets and you just looking at me nodding and agreeing and you not saying, oh, I could see how that would be this way, right? Again, it shouldn't be about me, but I want to feel there's a level of connection and rapport that's being established. And if I know absolutely nothing about the person I'm talking to, is it going to make it harder for this relationship to actually be helpful to me? Am I going to buy into the treatment if I feel like I don't know a thing about the person? So again, think about what are some questions that you would like to know from your therapist. I always use my early sessions to build rapport with my clients, and I'm asking them things about themselves, and I also open it up and say, are there questions you have for me that you would like to know that would make you feel more comfortable understanding the person you're sitting across from? So no, it shouldn't be that you learn how many times your therapist have been married, how many baby daddies they may or may not have, you know, who they hang out with and where they hang out with on the weekends. Maybe we don't need to know all of that, but there should be a level of openness to help that connection and that therapeutic rapport be built. Having said that, each week I want to give us maybe a fact or two about kind of more about the creator. Because again, I'm talking to you guys, I'm on the couch with y'all. I would like for y'all to feel like you know who it is you're talking to. So for me, I think probably the hardest question to answer that people may ask me, whether it's, you know, somebody I'm meeting for the first time or in session, where are you from? So shout out to all of the military brats who may be watching. That is such a hard question for me to answer because then it becomes the, oh, it's complicated. Well, do you mean where I was born, where I was raised? You want to know where I graduated high school? It is such a simple question, but for military brats, this can be a whole conversation starter. So that's why some people are like, well, aren't you from Arkansas? Well, no, I thought you was from North Carolina. Well, oh, you not from Virginia? Born in Georgia, moved every few years as a military brat, graduated high school in North Carolina, went to undergrad at the University of Arkansas, went to grad school at Georgia Mason. So yeah, just a little bit more about me. I guess next question, what are some of the areas that I've worked in and maybe some of the hardest parts about being a therapist? So I have been the person that I intentionally wanted to have a very well-rounded career path. So I started out working in hospice, which is a crazy first job, but I feel like it matured me so fast. I've worked in hospitals in various ICUs, NICU, trauma ICU. I've worked on med-surg floors, working with oncology, palliative care, dialysis. Also spent some time in residential substance abuse, in emergency mental health settings. I have really done so much within the profession, and it's been intentional because I really feel like I want to be able to serve a great amount of people who may have a bunch of different experiences. So yeah, I think the hardest part about therapy, I would say, one, balancing how much of myself I show up as. I think I feel like I'm helping my clients the best and doing my best work when I'm less worried about how things are coming out, and we can just be very direct, very blunt, very honest. Another hard thing I think about being a therapist, all of the different systems that you have to interact with, because we are not in a vacuum. So when I'm working with adolescents, having to work with their parents who think they're sending their child to me to fix them, baby, there is nothing broken here. I'm not fixing a child, and you are not exempt from this process too. I think that's a really hard lesson for me to be able to get through to people that I'm working with. And then also the balance of practicing what you preach. A lot of times we're talking about self-care and we don't always have those best practices ourselves. A lot of times we're burnt out, we're exhausted. So I would say those are some of the hard things about therapy for me. Last, I guess, question that I'll answer. Again, you guys know how much I talk about my love for pop culture. So if I were to think about maybe my pop culture guilty pleasures and aspirations, so I used to love 90 Day Fiance, Love After Lockup, just mindless TV that I can watch, and I don't feel guilty about it, so I'm not even gonna say it's a guilty pleasure. And then my pop culture aspirations, y'all, start the process for me to get down to the Terrell show. I told y'all last week I process in song lyrics. Like when I hear a word, I immediately have music in my head, and then a lot of times when people are talking to me, it's like, oh, there's a song that would make sense in this situation if I could explain. So yeah, petition to get Kia down to the Terrell show. Let's get that started. So yeah, that's more about the creator. If we transition to the next segment that I really want to have each week featured in the pod. Last week we talked about some common reasons Black people don't go to therapy, and I think there was one big one that we missed out on. And it's this idea that usually when somebody be like, oh, you need to go to therapy or you need to see the lady, it's coming from a place of judgment, like there's something wrong with you, and not from a place of support. So I want to each week start a segment called the referral, and it is who am I referring to see the lady this week based on some things that may have taken place on social media. And again, this is not coming from a place of judgment, but who is it that I think maybe they're going through something publicly that they could benefit from seeing the lady and talking to somebody about what's going on. So this week's referral, I'm going to give to two people, both from the Love and Hip Hop franchise. The first one is going to be Masika. So me saying that, you're probably in one of two groups. Either you're like, Harpo, who is that? I don't know who that is. Or you're like, oh yeah, I have thoughts on this. So for those who may be familiar, Masika was from Love and Hip Hop. A lot of times there's discourse around her when it comes to who she may be dating or some things that she may be posting online. So we recently learned that her estranged husband died, and we were able to see some footage from his ceremony. So it looks like there was a photo shoot, and there are some clips of her showing her emotions publicly during his funeral process. And I saw a lot of commentary about why are we having a cross shoot? Why did she post this to the internet? Like, what is going on? But I think there was even more discourse about the fact that I guess someone she's now currently dating is posting her, and everybody's like, now wait a minute, girl, you just had us down to the cross shoot and now you popping out with a new man, but you was crying over your husband. Like, make it make sense. Now again, my referral for Masika is not from a place of judgment. It's not to talk down on any of that. I am more so looking at this from the perspective of what it is to publicly grieve. Grief in itself is such a complex issue and topic, which again, we're going to end up having a whole episode on that at another time. But I think if we are thinking about what it is to grieve, that's already tricky. To grieve as a parent who I have young kids who are watching, who are looking to me to not be a robot and have emotions, but maybe I'm concerned about breaking down in front of them and this belief that I have to be strong for them. Again, we'll get into all of that another time. But then to add the extra layer of now I'm a public figure and my grief is likely being critiqued and commented on, is some of this for show? Should I grieve in this way? Should I post this? Is it okay for me to be dating someone new and publicly, right? I think navigating that in a public space can be so incredibly tricky. And again, the element of I'm still raising a child who is now growing up without her father. For that reason is why I'm saying I think we need to give this week's referral to Masika. I think there's so much that she can learn and be supported through from the process of having a licensed provider that's there to just kind of help walk side by side with her in all of this. So that's this week's first referral. The second referral this week is gonna have to go out to Brandy's brother, also known as RayJ. Again, if we've been paying attention, we saw him on Den of Kings with Kirk Franklin in the episode with Kev on Stage, when he was also talking about grief and how he got up and patted him on the back. We've seen him on Den of Kings, and we also saw this Thanksgiving week the live footage of him and Princess kind of going back and forth.
Drive drunk, Princess.
Right, you just
Drive drunk.
You just pointed a gun.
Drive drunk.
You just pointed a gun.
Drive drunk, Princess. Go ahead. You want to take my kids? You and your drunk cousin? Because y'all drunk as f*** and y'all alcoholics? Take my kids then. Go ahead. Who's going to drive? Tony, he's been drinking too.
I'm not driving.
Who's been driving? Everybody pointing nothing at y'all.
You pointed a gun at us.
I didn't point nothing at y'all.
You pointed a gun at us.
Yeah, whatever.
You pointed a gun at us.
Why you waking my daughter up? Why did you just wake my daughter
All
up?
I wanted to do was have a good Thanksgiving.
Why did you wake my daughter up?
Ray?
Because you're selfish.
Delusional.
You're drunk.
You're a woman abuser.
You're
and
drunk.
You're delusional.
Thinking about that family dynamic, they filed for divorce and paused it, and filed for divorce and paused it. I just think for the purpose of them figuring out this co-parenting dynamic, from him kind of being able to process what it is to be a child star and constantly in the public from the time he's been born, because you have this famous older sister, you're also trying to sing, act, all the things. I think there's a level of normalcy that he probably didn't have, and to be able to process that with someone I think could be beneficial, as well as figuring out this new normal of I need to be able to communicate effectively with my soon-to-be ex and raising a child in a way that they can feel safe and supported. So for that reason, my other referral is going to go to RayJ. Now, don't y'all hop in my comments being messy, clowning these people, because again, this is supposed to be from a non-judgmental place, and really seeing our people thrive and do well. So that's going to be the referral for this week. So this week, I wanted us to have a brief episode. I didn't want to get on here, you know, with the big yapping. I think the last two videos have been long. I still want you guys to go back and check out those videos if you haven't done so yet. But I just really wanted to keep it short, sweet, introduce the new segments that are going to be a part of the shows moving forward. And I want us to go ahead and wrap things up for today. So if I think about the last segment that I wanted to find a name for, y'all noticed each week I brought us in with the Cardi B, and I always try and take us out with a song that may be relevant to some of the things we talked about. We're gonna call that segment the soundtrack. So this week's soundtrack is going to feature Kehlani, Out the Window. So selfish plug, this is one of the songs that I have on repeat right now because I love good R&B where we got stacked vocals, we have more than 2 minutes, we have a bridge. Bring back the bridges if you're an R&B. But that is something that has been bringing me so much joy, is being able to listen to an almost 90s early 2000s sound R&B song. So that's this week's soundtrack. And also I have to say, when Kehlani was dancing in the rain and she said, "Till I can't sing no more," till I can't sing no more, I immediately went back to the verses with RayJ on that stage saying, "Till my baby's born." That level of I don't want to let the track go, that's my type of carrying on. And if you don't know Till My Baby's Born, I'm gonna make sure we put that in here for you because that was a good time. Till my baby's born.
Yo, sing, come on. Till my baby's born. Till my baby's born. Till my...
But yeah, soundtrack this week. If you're not already hip to Out the Window by Kehlani, definitely add that to your playlist. And that's gonna wrap us up for today. So thank you for joining another episode of The Couch and the Culture. This was almost like a little interlude, if you will. Next week, I want us to start our series on all things family. So we're going to be talking about maybe what it is to divorce, co-parent within the family, what it is to kind of recognize your roles within the family, you know, making decisions about dysfunctional families, and if I'm going to go no contact, which is this big trending thing that's been in the media recently. Talking about the different attachment styles. I know as we head into the holidays, family topics can be real touchy for some, so I really want us to kind of start a series on that for the next few weeks. But before I got into all of the potential heaviness of all of that, I just wanted us to get a little break and keep things light, keep it real simple, keep it real cute for today. So that's gonna wrap us up. Again, be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, share it with your friends, rate it if you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, and I can't wait to see you guys next week on The Couch and the Culture. Bye bye, clients.